Hey everyone, this is Stove here, and this is actually, hopefully, I'm planning on this video right here, and perfect timing too, because college playoffs are around the corner. That will actually be next week, and the bowl games, there will be some bowl games happening this coming Saturday, I believe, on the 13th. So I will go ahead and do those previews as well at a later date. And by later date, I mean hopefully upload that video by Friday. But at this time, I would like to be able to make this the 50th video for my YouTube channel. Big moment for me. A lot of things that have gone on just between all of these 50 videos, a lot of different things that I've improved upon, a lot of different things that I'm still trying to work on, but obviously that is just the whole name of the game there, is to just continue to improve. And I am very happy to see the views, whether or not some videos are 0 views, some of them get 10, 15, 20 views, is still ecstatic to me. And for those who watch, I appreciate it. For those who have subscribed already, or are thinking about subscribing, I'd appreciate it if you did, because it continues to have this channel grow and this community of mine that I'm trying to grow even more. So yeah. Anyway, this is going to be a pretty short one, just really talking about the first round and what we got coming up for just this college bracket. First game is actually not going to be what you expected, but I guess kind of expected. The Alabama versus Oklahoma game is actually going to be the first game for the College Football League playoff bracket. Surprisingly enough, they are actually going to be playing on the 19th, with 2 other matchups that are going to be just for bowl games, but one of them is going to be at like 12, the other one's going to be at like 2. So pretty much Alabama and Oklahoma have another chance to not only face each other, but also have a good set of playing at 8 o'clock, so millions of people can just watch and stream their matchup, where some of these other matchups, like Ole Miss versus Tulane, Miami versus Texas A&M, and James Madison and Oregon are all going to pretty much have to share a day together. Which, I mean, to me, I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way they scheduled it, because they were like, this makes it a little bit easier for certain things to happen. Or in a certain thing, maybe the number 9 and number 8 are always going to have that privilege to have that timing, that day, pretty much by themselves, because it's going to be a lot closer matchup. It's supposedly going to be a lot closer matchup, and I do think that is going to be such. Now I think Miami and Texas A&M is going to be pretty interesting too. So is Tulane and Ole Miss. But starting off, Miami versus Oklahoma. Last time, Oklahoma beat them only really because their defense had been able to not shut out Alabama all the way, but been able to definitely do their thing in that fourth quarter to just make sure that Alabama wasn't going to score too much anymore. Now, Ty Simpson and that Alabama offense very much struggled rushing-wise and a little bit passing-wise. That second half, it was a little bit better, but Ty Simpson definitely did not play like the Heisman candidate that we thought he was also going to be. So there's a lot of different things. Oklahoma's defense, still a top 10 defense, arguably a top 5 offense in my opinion. Alabama arguably is top 10 offense, top 10 defense. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these guys face each other once more. It could end up pretty much the same way where it's very close. Both teams have scored 20 plus, but very close matchups on from offense and defense, or defense to offense. You're going to see a lot of the same things that we've seen from the previous matchup of Oklahoma and Alabama, but I think as long as Alabama gets their run game under control and they don't for some reason sit a bunch of their starters, because apparently from what I was told by an Alabama fan that I've talked to from time to time, apparently Alabama did not start 7 or 8 of their starters through, which is kind of ridiculous to me. If you're in a position to win a conference championship, unless they were injured, then okay, they're injured, whatever, you have a point there. But if they weren't injured, they were just, either on the injury report just to get some rest, because even whether they win or lose this conference championship, they felt like that they were going to have a very strong opinion in being able to still take number 9 and still be able to also not drop down really at all. Surprisingly enough, though Miami does take number 10, Tulane and James Madison take 11 and 12, and obviously Alabama isn't going to take any of the spots that Oklahoma or any of these other teams already have, so I guess putting them at number 9 is respectable. But a lot of people, including this Alabama fan, didn't really understand, especially with the way that they lost 28-7. Why would they still be in the playoffs if they lost that bad? But again, completely, we don't know why they were. Some of these guys were ended up sitting on the bench. Maybe it was because of rest. Maybe it was because of actual injuries, and that is okay. But will they do that again? Will we actually see a full steaded roster that we're not gonna, maybe like at least 1 or 2 starters are gonna still be out, but the rest of them are gonna be playing in this Oklahoma game? That's gonna make the huge difference. And I think Alabama is going to come in. I think they are going to win this game, and it's only going to be a struggle only because Alabama is going to do some similar things that Oklahoma is going to stop, only for Alabama to switch it up and Oklahoma to switch it up a little bit too. But Alabama is going to end up just coming out with the win. Same kind of deal where both of them again get the 20 plus points, but Alabama actually wins by 1 or 2 field goals, in my opinion. So I think it'll probably be as close as 24-21 or 27-24 or 27-21 with Alabama winning. Then obviously going into the second game, which is actually all the way down here, Miami versus Texas A&M, with Miami sneaking in, being the only ACC team to make it into the to make it into the College Football League playoffs. Facing Texas A&M is going to be an obvious challenge. The only reason why Texas A&M lost was because they didn't do at all what they needed to do. Granted, they had some already tough times trying to win some of their other games this past season. Hell, I think even went into overtime or 2 overtimes and were able to get those wins. And with Miami also being on the struggle bus quite a bit as well, but couldn't finish those wins, I do believe it will end up being Texas A&M, but my heart and the way I feel like I've seen certain things like this happen before, I do think Miami, with having all the momentum, being like, oh, like we squeaked in, okay, we need to fire in, we need to lock in, we need to be fired up going into Texas, facing Texas A&M, and making sure that we show that we didn't just squeak by, like we're also a very great team, very talented team, and not only should you watch us, but you should draft some of our players. You should truly look at what we can do against a team like the Texas A&M team, which again, Texas A&M is nothing to scoff at. Their defense has been pretty solid, top 10, but their offense, I think, has been really one of the main reasons on why they have won this year. So arguably, Texas A&M has had a between top 15, top 10 defense, with their offense not really showing too much struggle, but been able to create a lot of plays to keep them in games. And I just feel like Miami is going to squeak this one in. Obviously, you have Carson Beck, I believe, should be playing this game. So with his talent, with his arm accuracy, and Texas A&M's quarterback and their offense being able to hopefully go straight for the jugular, especially being at home field advantage, they're going to want to do all that they can to strike first and to continue striking. And as long as they get Carson Beck running on his feet or running on his tippy toes, keeping him off balance, you're going to see Texas Tech win this. But I feel like a 2-possession margin, or Miami will actually show up and we will see Miami actually winning against Texas A&M, I would say 36-30, or 31-21. That's why I feel like Miami is going to end up winning. But if Texas A&M wins, I think it'll be by a 2-possession margin, so like 24-10 or 34-16 or some shit like that. Excuse my language. I had to just drop that bomb. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel there. Tulane versus Ole Miss. I know what you guys are about to say, and I know what you guys think what I'm about to say. Just the way I'm kind of presenting this. Tulane versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a solid team. Defensively, offensively, they have done pretty much almost everything that they could to make it into the college playoffs. They deserve to be here. I just feel like Tulane also deserves to be here. With beating up North Texas the way that they did, and pretty much solidifying themselves as their conference's champion, I do believe that Tulane has the granted, they are 17.5 underdogs compared to Ole Miss being the 17.5 favorite. Tulane, I believe, if they can pretty much handle... Now, granted, it's completely different level. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be like, well, it's totally different talent. Ole Miss has a bunch of 4 or 5 stars. Tulane barely has a couple of those 4 stars, and a lot of them were transfers from better schools, better programs. Tulane has been able to shock people before, has actually shocked me a few times this past season. So with them able to control North Texas's offense, which I thought North Texas was the best offense in the conference and had a top 10 offense in the entire nation just by points and just by yards and all that good stuff, I felt like that they were able to do something if in the playoffs, if Tulane's defense was able to do what they did against North Texas to any of these other teams. Granted, it's going to be a lot tougher. I just feel like Tulane is going to somehow come up with a way to beating Ole Miss. Now, I could be wrong, and Ole Miss can absolutely smack the crap out of Tulane, and it's going to be over within the first half. But Tulane has surprised me. I'm sure as if you guys look back at some of the highlights, some of the matchups that they were scheduled this past season, you would see that they were also kind of interesting to watch. And honestly, I wasn't really expecting them to win the against North Texas. I thought North Texas was just going to outscore them, which again Tulane was able to beat and handle their outscoring by just not letting them score too much. Let them score 21 points, but Tulane was able to score, I believe, either 34 or 38 points. I think as long as they're able to do, their offense is able to do that, and their defense is able to secure 3 touchdowns or less, I think that's going to be just fine. Like, Tulane's going to be just fine facing someone like Ole Miss. So, call me crazy, but that's what I feel. And last but not least, in the first round, you will see James Madison versus Oregon. And again, it's kind of the same thing, but James Madison, in my opinion, offensively has shown that they are pretty darn good. Are they a team that can beat a Power 5 team or Power 4 team? I don't think so. Their offense is probably the only thing that they have going for this. James Madison has some decent defensive linemen, some decent defensive players all in all, but Oregon will be an entirely different speed for this James Madison team. James Madison has been able to do incredibly well against their conference, and hell, even against teams that weren't in their conference. But Oregon will show up, and they, in my opinion, will be the only home team for the first round part of the first round to win their home game, and James Madison will probably get beat by 2.5 possessions. So I'd probably say like 7.5 points. I think James Madison will be able to score, but if James Madison scores, then Oregon will probably end up scoring by or winning by 20 plus, just like kind of how it shows them being favored by 21.5 points. So with that being said, that's just how I feel about this coming week. Obviously, you have Texas, whoever comes out of the James Madison and Oregon will face Texas Tech on January 1st, New Year's Day. Whoever comes out of Alabama versus Oklahoma will face Indiana on the same day at 4 o'clock in the Rose Bowl. Then you have the winner between Tulane versus Ole Miss will face Georgia in the All-State Sugar Bowl at 8 p.m. And then Ohio State will face the winner between Miami and Texas A&M on New Year's Eve at 7:30 in the Cotton Bowl Classic. And like I said, to me, I think even though Texas A&M had a great year, and I'm sure there'd be a lot of people wanting to watch Texas A&M, an SEC school, face Ohio State, who is coming off of a loss, and Ohio State's really not going to be able to play for like the entire year until New Year's Eve. It's going to pretty much be a struggle, I think, for Ohio State for when Texas A&M comes onto the field. But in my opinion, I would actually like to see Miami versus Ohio State. Not just because I'm an Ohio State fan and I feel like Ohio State has a better chance against Miami. I feel like it's a more interesting matchup to have Miami versus Ohio State. Texas A&M, yes, their defense is great. Their offense is even better. But I think Miami will outplay Texas A&M and will then be like, well, we were able to do this with Texas A&M, so we'll make it close or even closer against Ohio State. And I feel like that's what's going to truly happen. But yeah. And with my prediction of having Tulane beating Ole Miss, if they do beat Ole Miss, I don't see them passing Georgia. Alabama versus Indiana would be crazy. Hell, Oklahoma versus Indiana would be even crazier because of how both defenses, the last few games that they've played, their defenses have looked almost the same, just by the way that they've been playing in staturally wise. Oregon versus Texas Tech would be pretty cool. Now, if a lot of people want to just be biased towards the Big Ten and the SEC conference teams, then you would probably say Oregon has the easier slate, being number 5 facing James Madison, then going into the Orange Bowl and facing Texas Tech, just to finally actually have a challenge, hopefully, by the Peach Bowl. I think Texas Tech's defense, as long as their defense is healthy, which should be by January 1st. Now, granted, anything can happen, but Oregon, I think, actually has a very solid challenge up against Texas Tech whenever it comes to them facing Texas Tech's defense, because their Texas Tech's turnovers are pretty good staturally, and also don't think that Texas Tech's defense is going to be an easier battle, because Texas Tech's offense has been off the chain, being able to score on pretty much everybody and anybody that they faced this year. Now, granted, they haven't faced Oregon, they haven't faced anybody like that besides their own ranked teams from the Big 12, but it's going to be pretty interesting how it all shapes up by the time we get to New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then hell, even get to the Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl. So again, with that, I would just like to say thank you guys for being very supportive just by viewing these videos, or you're being very supportive and helping me grow and understand where and how to pick my words quite wisely. And I wish you guys would comment a little bit more, but I understand if you guys really don't want to. Obviously that is very much your guys' choice. But anyway, you guys have a very nice day or very nice night whenever you guys are watching this. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought of my things on how I think this first round's all going to go down. And yeah, you guys have a very nice day, and peace.